smaller number as I get older, but it's still 40 years is a lot. And someone pointed out recently that a lot of this year's high school seniors were not even born when 9/11 took place. For them, it's ancient history, and for some of us, it's like yesterday. So 40 years, I mean, for them is ancient history. But I want to put some perspective on that. That's 1978. Now, of course, Jimmy Carter was president. The popular movies of the year were Star Wars and Saturday Night Fever, Animal House, and Grease, and we'll talk about Grease in a minute. The Academy Award for Best Picture was Annie Hall, so I guess a few people saw that too, but really the Star Wars, that's where the lines were. The Bee Gees were the hit of the music world with Staying Alive, among others. I wouldn't call it a golden era of television, maybe a fool's gold era with Love Boat, Three's Company, and Chips. The Dow Jones Industrial Average peaked at an amazing 805 that year. We're now at 25,000 something. 805 is a long time ago. You could go down to a Radio Shack, of all places, and buy a TRS-80 home computer for $399. It had about as much computing power as my Fitbit, I think. But it was the thing. That was the year that the first Garfield cartoon appeared. So see, you and Garfield have something in common there. The Rangers finished second in the AL West with 87 wins, so that was a long time ago. And the Cowboys won a Super Bowl in January, and they went to the NFC Championship game in December, so that was a really long time ago. And the Louisville High School Fighting Farmers, we'll hear more about the Farmers today, they went 9-2 that year with a playoff appearance. So a lot of things happened back in 1978. The city of Louisville had a little more than 20,000 residents, and one of those 20,000 was Russ Curbo. And Russ Curbo made a decision in 1978 that we celebrate today. His story didn't start in Louisville, even though he is definitely a Louisville's boy now. It started elsewhere, but he moved here in 1967. We'll forgive those first few years. They weren't your fault. They really weren't. Went to Lakeland Elementary, Louisville Middle School, Louisville High School. As Brother Ben mentioned, as a senior, he was the drum major of the Fighting Farmer Band, the band that marches with pride. And he graduated in 1974. In 1977, age 21, he decided to become a police department reserve officer. And it worked out well. 6 months later, he became a full-time officer. Now, in November 1978, Russ went to the Jerry Lewis Cinema to see Grease for the third time. And that night is when he met Becky. Now, seeing Grease, not really a life-changing event, but certainly their meeting was a life-changing event. I'm told, by the way, that Russ actually saw Grease 32 times that month. I don't know, if we could put the whole room together, we might total 32, but like I say, Annie Hall got the best picture, in case you forgot that. They got married in 1982. He became a sergeant in 1983. James was born in 1984, and Jacqueline in 1987. So moving along pretty quickly there. Now I'll tell you, from the outside, Russ sometimes makes it look pretty easy. Being a police officer, being a community leader, being police chief, but it's not easy. Anyone who's tried it can tell you it's a tough job. While James and Jacqueline were growing up, Russ was mostly on shift work. And when he was working evenings, that means that the most time he had with them was 30 minutes on a lunch break, if it was a good day. When he was working deep nights, they were sleeping when he was working, and he was sleeping when they were awake. Not really conducive to close family ties. But Russ was determined not to let that prevent him from being the husband and father that he knew he should be, that God tells him to be, that I'm sure his parents told him to be. And he didn't let that schedule get in the way. He was an assistant baseball coach. He was a Sunday school teacher. He attended dance recitals when he really ought to be sleeping. And he managed to volunteer for community events. Now, there were difficult moments. There were challenges. Calling his wife, 6 months pregnant with their first child, to say, honey, I won't be home for dinner. We've had an officer-involved shooting. The officer's fine. Don't worry. Or calling at 8 in the morning to say, well, I can't meet you for lunch today. We had a prisoner kick out a window in the squad car and escape. But don't worry. When Russ was on the streets, another challenge is the fact that back then there weren't cell phones. There weren't dash cams. There weren't videos, body cameras. There was a car radio. And if she needed to reach her husband, any police wife at the time needed to reach their officer husband, they had to call dispatch, and dispatch would tell the officer, hey, when you get a chance, call home. And that might happen soon, it might not happen for a while. Now then pagers came along. That was a game changer, because then Becky could page Russ and have a 911. He knew, oh, bring home milk today. He made lieutenant in 1993, he made captain in 2001, he made assistant chief in 2004, and I was actually here by then, and I remember that, and he made chief on May 2nd of 2007. As he rose through the ranks of the Louisville Police Department, he also became an even greater presence in the Louisville community. He served as chairman of the Louisville YMCA, LISD Education Foundation, Children's Advocacy Center of Denton County, CASA of Denton County, DATCU, Heroes of Denton County, and Louisville Noon Rotary. That's an amazing list. He also has volunteered countless hours with schools, PTAs, and booster clubs, making pancakes for the bunny breakfast, reading to children back at Lakeland Elementary, where he used to be a student. So clearly Russ has made a mark on Louisville Police Department. He's made a mark on the city of Louisville. I am confident in saying he's made a personal mark on many of the people in this room. That's why you've taken time out to come here today and honor and thank him. And I personally honor and thank him for the service he has given. I'd like to ask City Manager Donna Barron to come forward at this point and represent the city of Louisville in expressing our appreciation.